Hello guys, welcome back to the Quantities surveying workshop and into another video. In today's video we are going to be treating measurements for what wall finishes, and in this plan we are going to be taking it that the external side of the blockwork, which you can see when outside the house, it's fully rendered or plastered and what's painted. So in order to achieve that, all we need to do is to find for what the external perimeter of the blockwork and then deduct what the openings, because these openings do not have anything like plastering or what painting. So for the inside of the building, we are going to also assume that the inside is plastered and what painted. No serious finishing is done. So the inside is going to be plastered and painted except the toilets. As you all know, the finishing in toilets are usually what tile works, because of what the nature of how the toilets are being used due to damp and stuff like that. So that is why we incorporate what tilings at what the toilet. So let's get right into the video. So now, in order to find for the external perimeter, all we need to do is this. We know that the length of what the blockwork, the length of what the plan is what 12,825, and the width is what 10,725. So all we need to do is this length is equal to what 12,825, and the width is what 10,725, and then we close. Then we find for the sum of it, which is going to give me what 23,550. Then we times it by what 2, and that will give me what 47,100. Mind you, we are not looking for the center line, we are looking for what the external perimeter, which means the perimeter outside the blockwork. That is what we are looking for, not the center line. So now, after getting this is what we have as our what perimeter. Then after doing this, we what book 47.10 by what the height of the building. The height of the building is what 3,000. That's 3.00, and then we close. Then we begin to deduct what the openings. So what are the openings we have at the outside of what the plan? You can see that we have window ones of how many kinds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can see that we also have a door, and you can see that we have some window twos. So those are the openings we are going to be what deducting, as well as what this porch opening. So after booking this, we need to what deduct the what opening. So we'll start by deducting what dot 2. That is this door here, and the dimension is what 900 by what 21. So it's going to be what 0.90 by what 2.10, and then we close. The next one will be window 1, and the dimension is what 1.50 by what 1.50, and then we close. How many window 2 can we see in this plan? You can see how many window 1 can we see in this plan. This is supposed to be window 1. Would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we'll times it by what 9. Then we go to what window 2. So the size of window 2 is what 0.60 by what 0.60, and then we close. I'm also going to be deducting what this porch, this side of the porch, because there is an opening at this side. So we're going to be deducting what the porch, and that will be what 5.53 by what 2.40, and then we close. The length of the porch is what 5.525, and then the height of this opening is 2.40. That's how we got about that dimension. So doing this, you've successfully booked for your wall finishes. Then all you need to do now is what? Describe. So when describing, like I said, all you need to do is to describe what the nature of the operation. So we're going to say render cement and sand mortar 1:6, 12 mm thick towards wall externally. And then we are going to what paint afterwards, doing the what rendering work. So we are going to see what prepare and apply prime coat and 2 coats of, we're going to assume that it's high gloss paint that will be used outside. And then we close. Doing this, we've booked for what wall finishes for this particular plan. Then the next thing is to book for what the wall finishes internally. So the rendering and painting that will be done for each rooms internally is what we are going to be booking for. So like I told you, the walls are what rendered and painted for other rooms excluding was the toilet. So we're going to be booking for the rest of the rooms separate, then we'll book for what the toilets separate, because the specification used at the toilets differs from the specification used for other parts of what the rooms. Have that in mind. So we're going to write internal finishing. So when booking for the internal finishing, we're going to be adopting this method. All you need to do is to calculate the perimeter of each rooms and then deduct the openings you can see there. So for example, now at the kitchen, we know that the length of the end-to-end dimension is 3,300 and the width is what 3,000. So we find the perimeter by saying 2 times 3,300. That's 3,300 for both sides and 3,000 for both sides. That will give us the perimeter of the room. Then when we get the perimeter of the room, we are going to measure it by what the height of the room. Then we begin to deduct what the openings. So let's go into the calculation aspect. So first is the kitchen. So now we know that the perimeter of the kitchen would be 2 by 3,300 and 2 by 3,000. That will give me 6,600. by what 6,000. Maybe add them together to give me what 12,000 what 600. Now doing this, we've gotten the perimeter of what the wall inside the kitchen. So we book 12.60 by what the height of the room, which is what 3 meters, that's 3.00, and then we close. Then we deduct openings. So what are the openings can we see at the kitchen? We can see wall 1, window 1, window 1, that's 2 window 1s, and what 1 what dot 2. So we're going to be booking window 1. What is the dimension of window 1? The dimension of window 1 is 1.5 by 1.5, so it will become what 1.50 by 1.50, and then we close. How many window 1s do we have at the kitchen area? 2. So we count it by what 2. Then the next thing we can see is what door 2. And what is the dimension for door 2? That's this door 2 here that you can see when you are inside. Is what 900 by what 2100. So it will be 0.90 by 2.10, and then we close. Doing this, you booked for what the kitchen. Then the next thing we're going to be booking for would be let's say the porch. So now if you look at this now, this area of the porch do not have anything like wall. We are going to be getting the entire perimeter of the porch. Then we're going to deduct this length, which is 5,525 from it, because we're going to be deducting the area of this opening, which is 5,525 by what 2,400. Now if you notice, the length of the building is 3,000, and the height of this opening is 2,400. So it means that the remaining 600 is also going to carry rendering. Do you understand? So that is why we need to remove this area, and then whatever is left is going to be part of what we have in the perimeter. So let's book. We have the porch. So the length of the porch is 5,525. That's 2 by 5,525 by 2 by 1,200. This will give me 2,400, and this will give me 11,050. When you add them together, it will give me 13,450. So we'll book 13.450. That's 13.45 by 3.00, and then we close. Then we will now begin to deduct the openings. Now if you look at this porch area, what can we see? We can see there's a door 1 here, and then this opening at this side. So we are going to deduct porch opening, which is 5.53 by 2.40, and then we close. The next thing we're going to be deducting is door 1, which is 1.20, that's the length, by 2.10, and then we close. Doing this, we've booked for the porch. The next we're going to do the master's bedroom, and the length of the master's bedroom is 4,400, and the width is 3,600. So what can we see in the master's bedroom? We can see 2 window 1s and 2.2s. So we are going to go next, master's bedroom. So we'll find the perimeter. That's 2 by what, 4,400 by 2 by what, 3,600. That's 8,800 by 7,200. And when you add them together to give me what, 16,000, and then we book 16.00 by what, the height 3.00, and then we close. Then we begin to what, do the what, deductions. Now, like I said, we have 2 window ones at the inside the master's bedroom, so we'll deduct what, window 1, and the length of window 1 is what, 1.50 by what, 1.50, and then we close. Then we have what, dot 2, and the dimension is what, 0.90 by what, 2.10, and then we close. Doing this, we've booked for what, the master's bedroom. Then the next thing we're going to be doing is what, the closet. And now we know that the length of the closet is 2,000 and the width of the closet is 1,725. So we find for the what, perimeter. That will give me 7,450. So you book. That's 7.45 by what, 3.00, and then we close. Then we begin to deduct what we can see inside of closets. Inside of the closet, we can see a window 2, we can see a dot 2, and we can see a dot 2. That's 2.2s and what, 1 window 2. So we'll deduct dot 2. The size of dot 2 is what, 0.90 by what, 2.10, and then we close. How many dot 2s do we have? 2. And then we go to what, window 2. The size of window 2 is what, 0.60 by what, 0.60, and then we close. How many window 2 can we see? Just 1. Now, doing this, you've booked for what, the closet. Now the next thing we're going to be booking for would be what, bedroom 1 and 2. So we'll start with what, bedroom 2. The length of BD2 is 3,200. And the width is 3,600. That's 13,600. So we book 13.60 by what, 3.00, and then we close. Then we begin to what, deduct. Now what can we see in bedroom 2? Here in bedroom 2 we can see a window 1, we can see another window 1. That's 2 window 1s and what, 1.2. So we book window 1. and the length of window 1 is what, 1.50 by 1.50. We close by what, 2, and then we have what, a dot 2, which is what, 0.90 by what, 2.10, and then we close. Doing this, we've booked for what, bedroom what, 2. Then we go to what, bedroom 1. So bedroom 1, the length of bedroom 1 is the same thing as this. What we have here is the same size as bedroom 2. So instead of making any waste calculation, we'll just come and write what, 13.60 by what, 3.00, and then we'll close. Then we begin to what, deduct. So what and what can we see in what, bedroom 1? We can see 1 window 1 and what, 1.2. So we'll book window 1, that's 1.50 by 1.50, and we close, and then dot what, 2, that's 0.90 by what, 2.10, and then we close. Doing this, we've booked for what, bedroom 1. The next thing we're going to be going to is the what, the lobby. So when we're booking for the lobby, we are going to be taking the whole perimeter of the lobby. Now if you look at this area, it is the same case we have here. If I remove this side of the lobby, by the height of the lobby, it means that the remaining is also going to be rendered. The height of this lobby, of this beam, or of this opening is 2,400, and we know that the overall height of the building is 3,000. So which means that the remaining 600 on top would be rendered. So we are going to be what, getting the perimeter of this whole rectangle, and then we're going to what, deduct the openings. That we're going to deduct this beam opening, dot 2, dot 2, dot 2, dot 2, and this dot 2, to get what we are going to be, the area we're going to be rendering at this lobby. So we'll write lobby. So width of the lobby, that's from here to here, is the summation of this part, this wall thickness, and this part, which will give us 2,625. So it will be 2 by 2,625 to give me 8,800, 5,250, and then we close. Summation of this will give me what, 14,050, and then we book. By the height 3.00, and then we begin to what, deduct. Now first we need to deduct what, this opening here, and the length from here to here into in is the length from here to here. That's 1,200 plus what, 225 plus what, 1,200, and that'll give me what, 2,625. So we'll deduct 2.63 by what, the height 2.40, and then we close. Then after deducting the beam opening at lobby, then we're going to be deducting what, the doors, and they are just the tools at the lobby. So we're going to what, book. So So the dimension of the 2 is what? 0.90 by what? 2.10, and then we close. Then we times it by what? The amount of the 2s we have in that area, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Times it by what? 5. So doing that, we booked for what? The lobby. Next will be the sitting room, the dining, and this entrance to the guest toilet. So how do we come about this? Like I said before, if you remember this diagram, this is not a definite shape. So we're going to be finding the perimeter of what? This shape, and then deducting all that needs to be what? Deducted. Now, to go about the calculation for the wall finishes for this irregular side, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be deriving the length from here to here, and then we'll add it to the length from here to here, add it to the length from here to here, to the length from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and back towards here. So doing that, we've gotten the perimeter of what? This particular shape. So now, how do I get the length from here to here, which is not given? You go to your dimension and you derive it. I know that from here to here was given as what? 4,200, and then the thickness is what? 225. From here to here is given as what? 1,200 with what? A 225 block work, and then from here to here is what? 3,000. If I add this, and this, it will give me what? The length from what? This side to what? This side, right? And that will give me what? 8,850. So I can see sitting room, dining, and what? Entrance to what? Guest toilet. So I know that the length from here to here is giving us what? 8,850. So I write it 8,850. Then I know that the length from here to here is giving us this 5,525. Then I write it down. And I know that the length from here to here is giving us what? 4,200. Then I write it down. And I know that the length from here to here is giving us what? 2,500. Then plus this 225, that will give me what? 2,725. Then I know that the dimension from here to here is giving us what? This 225 plus what? This 1,200 will give me what? 1,425. And then the dimension from here to here, we have to derive it. Now, I know that if we add this 225 here to this 3,300, it will give us the length from here to this end. So that will give me 3,300 plus 225, that's 3,525. It means that from here to here is 3,525, and we know that from here to here is giving us what? 2,725. If we minus this length from this entire length, what will be left will be what? This length here. So minus 2,725 will give me what? 800. So it means that from here to here is what? 800. Then we'll write 800. Then from this end to this end, we know that from here to here is what? 3,000. Then we add what? 225. That will give me what? 3,225. And then from here to the starting point was what, 2000. So we'll book 2000. Find the sum of everything here. 28,700 and what, 50. Now this is the perimeter for this shape that you are seeing, like this irregular shape. So all I need to do now is to book it down. So I would say divided by 1000, it will give me what, 20. So when you book, you write what, 28.75 by what, 3.00, which is what, the height, and then you start deducting. So now what can you see in this irregular shape? You can see what, door 1, you can see window 1. What can we see? We can see door 2. We can also see another door 2 here. We can see another door 2 here, and then we will deduct this space in this opening. So now let's start. The first one we'll see is door 1, and the dimension of door 1 is what, 1200 as 1.20 by what, 2.10, and then we close. The next one will be window what, 1, and the dimension is 1.50 by what, 1.50, and then we close. How many window 1s can we see in this plan at that area? 2. Then we go to what, dot 2, and the dimension for dot 2 is 900, that's 0.90 by what, 2.10, and then we close. How many dot 2 can we see at that area? 3. That's 1, 2, and 3. So the next thing we're going to be deducting is the opening for this beam here. So for the beam opening, we know that the length from here to here is giving us 2625. So it should be 2.63 by what's the height of the beam opening, which is 2.40, and then we close. Doing this, we've what, booked for what, everything in this what area. Then all we need to do now is what, to describe. So you describe it by saying you render, that's to plaster, cement and sand, mortar. The ratio is 1:6, and the thickness is 12 mm. So 12 mm thick towards wall internally. So this is the description for plastering for the internal finishes. And then after plastering, what do you do next? You paint. So you now say and. You are putting this and because the same area which you plastered is the same area which you are going to be what, painting. So prepare and apply prime coat and 2 coats of what, high gloss what, paint. Doing this, you've booked for what, finishes for wall finishes internally. So what is left, we have to cater for the toilets, that's the finishes in the toilet. Like I said in the beginning of the video, the finish is used internally at other partition walls in the building is different from the ones used in the toilets. The toilet is going to be finished with tiles. So while we book for the walls which will need plastering separate, we have to book for those which will need tiling on the wall separate. So let's get into the calculation for that. So when carrying out the tiling finishes, we are still going to use the same approach we used when calculating for the wall finishes. That is to find for the perimeter of the wall, and then you book it by what, the height of the building or the height at which the tiling finishes would be placed. So because there are some times where the finishing done, maybe half of the wall would be tiling and then half of the wall would be plastering and painting. So you get those kind of things occur in building design, so you have to be conversant with it when it comes to complex designs and stuff like that. So well, in this case, the entire height of the building, of the toilet rather, is tiled, so it makes the calculation much easier. So now look at the plan that we used here. If you can see, toilet 1 and 2, they are virtually the same dimension. That's 1200 by what? By 2000. So toilet 1 and toilet 2 are virtually the same, so we can book them as what? 1, instead of booking toilet 1 separately and toilet 2 separately. So what we will do now is this: you find for the perimeter, the length of the toilet is what? 2000. So you times it by 2 for 2 sides, that is for here and for here. Then the breadth or width of the toilet is 1200, so you times it by 2, which is for here, this side, and for what? This side. Getting the total is 6400. So you convert it to meters, that is what? 6.40. I booked it here, 6.40. Then what is the height that this tiling was fixed? So we said that the tiling was fixed in such a way that it spans the entire height of what? The what they call it, of the building, or of the wall rather. So the height of the wall is what? 3000. So when you book 3000, then you what? Times it by what? 2, because of it is for what? Both toilet 1 and for what? Toilet 2, and then you what? Close. Now doing this, you booked this toilet in such a way that everywhere is covered with what? Tiles. But now don't forget that we have openings at the toilet. We have a door 2 here and a window 2 here. We have a door 2 here and a window 2 here. We have another door 2 and window 2 at what? Toilet 2. So we're going to be booking them the same. So we start deduct. What are we deducting first? Window 2. So now the dimension of window 2 is what? 0.60 by what? 0.60. So we times it by what? 2, because there is one window 2 at toilet 1 and there's one window 2 at what? Toilet 2. So we move towards door 2, and there are how many door 2s in this plan? There are 2 door 2s. So the dimension of what? Door 2 is what? 0.90 by what? 2.10. So we times it by what? 2, because of there is one door 2 at toilet 1 and there's one door 2 at toilet 2, both having the same dimension. So doing this, we've booked for what? Toilet 1 and what? Toilet 2. The next toilet we're going to be booking for is what? The master's toilet. The master's toilet. And what is the dimension of the master's toilet? It is 2000 by what? 1650. So we use the same approach. What is the length of the master's toilet? That's 2000. So we times it by 2. That is for both sides. That will give us 4000. Then the width is what? 1650. We times it by 2 for both sides. That will give me what? 3300. When you add the two together to get the perimeter, it's give you what? 7300, and I book 7.30 when you convert it to meter. What is the height of the building? 3.00, right? Then I was close. Doing this, you've booked for what? The master's toilet. Then we have to what? Do the what? Deductions. What and what can you see in the master's toilet here? You can see what? A window 2, another window 2 here, and what? Door 2. So we are going to be what? Booking. So we start with what? Door 2. What is the size of door 2 there? 0.90 by what? 2.10, and then we close. Then for window 2, what is the size of window 2? 0.60 by what? 0.60. How many window 2s did we find here? 2. So we times it by what? 2. Doing this, you booked for what? The master's toilet. The next thing we're going to be booking for is the guest toilet. Now, if you look at this, the guest toilet, the size of the guest toilet is what? 2,500 by what? 1,200. So we have to find for the perimeter of the internal perimeter of the what? Guest toilet. So we know that the length is what? 2,500. We'll times it by 2 for the two sides to give us what? 5,000. Then the next is the width, which is 1,200. We times it by 2 and it will give us 2,400. And then adding everything together to give us what? 7,400. Convert this to meter and then you booking to give us 7.40. Then you times it by what? The height. The height of the building is what? 3.00. And then you close. Doing this, you book for the guest toilet. Then we need to what? Deduct openings. So what and what can you see at the guest toilet? You can see what? A window 2 here and a door 2. So we have to deduct them. So we will deduct window 2. The dimension is 0.60 by what? 0.60. How many window 2 can you see there? 1. So we what? Close. The next is what? Door 2, and the dimension is what? 0.90 by what? 2.10. How many door 2 can we find there? 1. So we what? Close. Doing this, you've booked for what? The guest toilet. And all that is left is to what? Describe. So we describe by saying, first, the tiling work is done on the wall, so we need to what? Do what we call backing, like I said in previous videos. So we will first describe 12 mm thick backing to receive tile finish on toilet walls, and because the two operations come together. And what? 600 by 600, this is the size of the marble tiles. 6 mm thick, that's the thickness of the tiles, laid on what? 225 block work. So doing this, you've booked for what? The tile finishes at the toilets internally. So we've come to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and you derive knowledge from it. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel to get more educational content. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next.